you release it in IMAX 3D as well?
Our intention is that we will release the movie in IMAX where they have screens that are available to us. You know, we're very excited about that. We've had a great relationship with IMAX. So if we look on a global basis, and I don't want to speak specifically to here in France, but we will have film IMAX prints, we will have digital IMAX prints, and we'll get as many screens as we can be on and be as wide as possible. So.
Will the format will be different in IMAX? Will it be taller or instead of widescreen?
Well, you know what? In IMAX, there is the potential that it would be more 16:9, so that we'd have a little more. You know, we still, for us, in terms of a narrative storytelling flow, we don't tend to fill the full IMAX screen. We think that takes away, and there's actually too much. But the breadth of the screen and the added height, we think creates a very engaging and immersive 3D experience.
After those 60 weeks, did you see limitations for the 3D?
The 60 weeks aren't done yet, so we're still working on it. Did we see limitations? There are inherently limitations, because what we are doing is we are creating a simulation of 3D. You know, so what we're doing is we're working as painstakingly as possible to create the illusion of full 3D. But movies themselves are an illusion. And so that's what we're creating. So we have limitations in making a movie, we have limitations technically in the 3D. Is it something that an audience will notice? I ask you to judge from the material you saw. I don't think so. Is there another question here?
Yes, if this conversion is successful commercially, will we see a T2 3D apart from the ride that we already do?
You know, I think that our next major focus will be the Avatar sequels, but I think that it would be great to revisit Terminator 2, maybe great to revisit Aliens. I also know that there are other filmmakers who are interested, and I think the key to doing conversions are the filmmakers. It's not rushing a product to market and saying, wow, we just shot this, let's jam it out in 3D while the director, he or she, is, you know, working on visual effects and mixing the movie and doing all these things, and somebody comes to market and the director has never been involved in that process. Because as I said, it's a creative process. But if Steven Spielberg says, I'd like to go back and do Jurassic Park in 3D, that would be pretty cool. If Peter Jackson, who's doing The Hobbits in 3D, said, I want to go back and do Lord of the Rings in 3D, and he was involved with it, and they did a conversion, that would be pretty cool. So I think that, you know, we'll see it for the right library titles, but I think the key is that it's got to be the impetus of the filmmaker, and the filmmaker has to be involved in that process.
And you're doing Avatar 2, and Peter Jackson is doing The Hobbit in 48 frames, and this is not for 48 frames. Aren't you afraid that it's maybe from the past of 3D after Avatar 2 and The Hobbit are out?
You know, all we can do is deal with the current state of the industry. Right now, the current state of the industry is 24 frames per second. We are trying to push the exhibition community to embracing a higher frame rate. We ourselves have not determined whether we're going to shoot 48 or 60 frames per second. But the great thing is that digital technology and digital projectors don't need to be replaced. They just need a firmware upgrade to run the higher frame rates. And we believe that down the road, filmmakers can choose 48 or 60 or 24, and with the push of a button, exhibition can display at those various rates. The really exciting thing is the clarity that you get from the higher frame rates. I explained to someone yesterday when they asked me about this. Many of us now have digital cameras, and we can shoot with them, and we understand shutter speeds. Well, imagine if you took a still image at 1/24th of a second. That image is going to be blurry. We've all seen it on our digital cameras, and we cringe. Well, that's what we're doing when we're shooting film. We're shooting a series of still images at 1/24th of a second and playing them back at a higher frame rate, and that helps us get rid of the apparent motion blur, but we still see strobing, we still see the artifacting. At the higher frame rates, you lose that, and you have a much higher fidelity of picture. And that will impact not just 3D movies, but 2D movies. And the result is something that when you see a side-by-side comparison, you can really see the difference. So we're excited about that prospect. Yes, sir.
Would it be possible to convert a 24 frame movie to a 48 or 60?
You know, we have looked at that, and we believe that it will be possible, you know, to do that. It'll be a task down the road. I don't know that we would ever go back and visit one of our movies just to do it for that purpose. But I think you could. I think if you had a film where you had a number of shots that you were using from a library and inserting, let's say, stock footage or something, and you needed to convert those to a higher frame rate, you know, I think you can do that. If you think about it, we are already converting movies from 24 frames per second to, call it 30 frames per second for television. Because, you know, we shoot at 24 and television's back at a different frame rate. So that is possible. It's not something that we're interested in pursuing.
Coming back to the movie, is it the whole movie is converted or just part of it?
Titanic?
Yeah.
The whole movie, from beginning to end, and you know, I think, again, and it's interesting, I think to me, when I've seen other sections of the movie, it's, you know, I was talking about the scenes that are difficult to do, it's also surprising to me the scenes that resonate in 3D. There's a scene in the film where Kate's mother cinches her corset. To me, that's one of the more powerful scenes in 3D, because it puts you in that room with them, in this very intimate moment. You are there, and you almost feel the corset cinching around yourself, you know, as you're watching it. So we're doing the whole movie from beginning to end.